Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including Rick and Morty, which we'll be getting into today. I'm Dylan Hysen, and welcome to our panel discussion this week for the Whirly Dirly Conspiracy, this week's episode of Rick and Morty. We are the place to be, one of the places to be for Rick and Morty podcasts. You can check us out at overlyanimated.com or search for Overly Animated Rick and Morty podcasts on iTunes and subscribe to our Rick and Morty specific iTunes feed or our main iTunes feed as well. Thank you guys very much for listening to our recap podcast, which is getting good traction. You can check that out if you haven't, but it is not required to listen to this panel discussion for the Whirly Dirly Conspiracy. Of course, we have 2 podcasts a week for Rick and Morty, so stick with us and subscribe for all of your Rick and Morty podcasting needs. But let's meet, this is our panel discussion where we have panelists answer questions and they'll be graded arbitrarily, basically, and we will determine a winner. So let's meet our panelists here for today's panel discussion. First is our defending champion. Here's Andy Potter. Andy, hi. What briefly did you think of this episode of Rick and Morty?
First off, I want like a bell to ring, like ding ding, like I'm here.
You could have brought that prop.
I didn't think of it until right then when you introduced me in that way, but it's too late now. But anyways, I think this episode was. I'll start off by saying I still liked it. It was a fun episode. It was Rick and Morty, but it was lower quality than I was expecting from this show in season 3. I'll say that much. Okay. I was a little disappointed.
Okay. We'll get more into Andy's opinions later on our panel. Our next panelist is Alex Bonilla. Alex, hello. What did you think of this week's episode briefly?
Hola. I was also disappointed, but only that they didn't say whirly dirly as much as I wanted them to, because it's a really fun thing to say. Whirly dirly, whirly dirly, whirly dirly.
Okay, you got 3 in. Let's see how many more times Alex will say whirly dirly the rest of this panel.
Listeners at home count.
Will it gain or lose him points? To be determined. Okay. And last, new panelists joining us today and newly caught up on Rick and Morty, we have Brit Griffin. Brit, hi. What did you think of this episode of Rick and Morty?
This is like my favorite episode so far, so fuck all y'all haters.
Oh, wow. Yes. I like it. Bringing these strong opinions here on the episode. I feel like Brit has the hang of this already. That's a good way to get points. Okay. Let's get right into things, and let's start by grading this episode. What is your grade on a scale of A to F, arbitrarily on whatever system you want to rank it on, for this episode? Andy, defending champ, you're up first.
Okay, so before I say my grade exactly, I think it's important to see this in context. I gave Rick Manson the Stone a B+, I gave Vindicators a C, and I'm giving this episode a D+. It was a definite downgrade, I think, in quality. It was, like, you'll see as we go through this, Dylan, I think you'll see, especially as the judge, that there's not a lot of options for all these questions. There just aren't. There's just not a ton of gags. There's not a ton of minor characters that are interesting and fun. And the plot is just really rushed and just shoved out the door in a lot of places. There's a lot of really cool concepts that I really wish they'd explored. I really wish they explored the immortality field a lot more, because it was essentially Westworld, and and I thought they were going to make a lot of jokes in like making fun of Westworld in some ways, but they didn't really touch on that even. And that was just kind of like the trend for this episode. There's a lot of cool gags that they just didn't explore in a way that was satisfying or really fun sometimes.
Okay. Strong opinions there. Okay, let's go to Brit next. Brit, what is your grade for this episode and why?
I'm going to give it an A-, just because I'm going to save the A+ for, like, the best episode ever. And we're only in, like, season 3, so, you know. Ooh. You gotta give room to grow.
Best episode ever only. I do like strong grading scales. Where you like don't give out a 10 ever out of 10. You know?
I don't give out a 10 unless it deserves a 10, and
so that's high.
We're not yet to 10.
That's not.
But
yet
it's still
to 10.
My favorite. Just because it's my favorite doesn't mean I think it's the best.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I appreciate that.
I thought that this was a more serious episode, which I know this is a comedy show, but I like when comedies go serious. Like the last 2 episodes between this one, the end of season 2. Oh, I really liked the end of season 2, where he's in jail and Ian Schnales was playing. That was hella fine. Oh, that was the best. I almost cried. But yeah, this one had a lot of short gags, and when I was rewatching it, I caught some of them Like, Jerry's humor is very, like, it's almost missable. Like, when he's getting sucked into the hand dryer, and he's like, my hands are dry! He's so ridiculous and sad, but he's also, like, funny. Yeah. And I just enjoyed, like, the exploration of, like, his character that we sort of seen on the sidelines, and now he's, like, his effect on other people is, like, coming into fruition. Yeah.
Fruition, yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, that's a well-supported thing. Yeah, I don't know if we highlighted that Jerry hand dryer line on the recap.
There were a couple. The Jerry hand dryer line. There was.
Yeah, we'll get to other ones maybe. We'll save it for the lines one. Okay.
The gags were smaller and they weren't as. There was a lot less slapstick humor in this one.
Okay, that's an interesting way of putting it. Okay, we'll explore that more later. Alex, what is your grade for this episode?
I ended up giving it a solid B. I think I side more with Brit here. That it felt more like a good balance between a plot, character, and humor compared to previous episodes. I think the Rick-Jerry interaction is pretty great all the way through. The Rick takedown of Jerry in the middle of the episode, that's like the peak right there, and just very, very enthralling to just watch all that go down. The B plot wasn't the best, but still, I think season 3 has done a good job when it decides to use B plots to make them use pretty good gags. And Morty pretty much saves the B plot here by being pretty awesome, just I guess filling the Rick role as it were. So yeah, overall, I was entertained all the way through. Definitely an improvement from Vindicators from last week for me. I enjoyed it, so solid B for me.
Nice. Okay. 5s for all of you. These are all good answers. My personal opinion of the episode, irrelevant on this one. I think these are all well supported responses. By the way, we're grading out of 5 for each question. And also just to note, Brit did not have as much prep time as the others for this, so give her some leeway on the grading. Also, I did forget to say this meeting, John out for a few weeks, and April had to drop out last minute, so that's why they're not here. So, let's get to our next question here, which is, who's the MVP of the episode? Which character do you think, however you quantify MVP, we definitely know sports writers have largely differing opinions here. So, Alex, who's your MVP character?
I think, I know I probably used him like in 3 different panels, but I'm going Morty here again. Just because, like, in the A plot, Rick, Jerry, and Risotto all have important roles to play, and I think they all contribute well. But in the B plot, I feel like Beth and Summer were very lacking, and Ethan also as well didn't do much for me. But Morty saved that B plot and kept it funny and hilarious. It showed his further development of just being effing tired of everything. Talking about how he tricked Rick into doing his bidding, so just showing that he's becoming more and more self-aware. Able to see past Beth's motives, and he's also had a couple of good lines, like when Summer has left, he's like, "Damn it, she's gone." So just, I think he saved that half of the episode, so he was more valuable than the characters in the A plot to me.
Okay, we'll see how that pays off in the scoring bulletin with Morty again after it got like very low grades last week. We'll see. Britt, who is your MVP of the episode?
I'm gonna go with Morty also. He was just real strong in the B plot, which I felt was more like hysterical in the literal definition of being hysterical, that it was funny, but also just emotionally tangent. Like, I kind of like when characters do like weird things for weird reasons, like being emotionally dysfunctional and having like emotional reactions to things that aren't logically thought out. Like in this episode, that was fun. I liked the scene at the end where he's like sitting with the campfire with the s'more, and he's looking at Summer's ex, and he's like, "Your s'more's on fire," and he's very ominous, like, "You better get your shit together or we're gonna fuck you up. We have monsters."
Yeah.
We literally make people into monsters, and I liked the vague Attack on Titan references. She's beating up trees.
Okay,
she's a good mom.
Nice, yeah.
I just want to say, I think the word she's looking for is unhinged, and that's a bit different. And that's a bit different from how we've seen Morty. In the past couple of episodes, it's been more of a resigned Morty, just like, I'm tired of this. But here it's, I'm tired of this, and he just lets everything go. So I think that's what helps him to
control. He's more in, like, I know it sounds weird, but he's both unhinged, but he's like, can think of how we should do situations rather than just let everything go to disaster.
He's increasingly competent in these episodes this season.
Exactly.
I enjoy that. I feel like it's like him like growing up as a person. You become more competent. How old is he? Like 13, 12?
I think
he's an age 14. I don't know. But, you know, I did dumb shit at 14 and grew out of it. So hopefully he will too.
And calling out your parents at 14. We all do that, right?
It's true. Yeah, a lot of talk. I think that is our standout scene with Morty in this episode. A lot of talk about that. Some people pissed at Morty for disfiguring Ethan kind of unpromptedly, and then a lot of people are like, "Yeah, Morty, you do it." So, some polarizing reaction there. I agree. That's a standout scene for Morty here. Andy, who are you going with your MVP of the episode?
I'm going with a character that I don't like, but I think did carry the A plot, which is Jerry. I don't think he's necessarily a person that I like, but he is the reason the A plot works. Without any other character there, the A plot just wouldn't work without Jerry. It just wouldn't. Jerry's just stupid enough for this plot to happen, for the Whirly Dirly to be important, and for just this perfect thing of like, Jerry's the perfect character to just kill over and over and over again, because every time he died, it was hilarious. And I just loved it. Because and watching him like see Rick and that other guy that he fought die was just incredible, because he's freaking out, and I just love that. And then following that, he got the moment to be like above Rick when he got really stupid, and he immediately, and I mean immediately, transitioned back to being submissive as soon as Rick got his intelligence back. Like, he just is so worthless. He is so meek and pitiful that it just somehow makes this work, because everybody in the universe, the first time they meet him, realize that he's pitiful. Like, Risotto Groupon figured out that Jerry was just useless the second he saw him, and it's like, okay, you're good enough to convince Rick to get on the Whirly Dirly, and that's it. That's all you're good for. And he just kind of works like that. He is, I guess the best way to put it is, he is the vehicle for the plot this entire episode, and I guess that's enough for me to say he was the MVP, because the episode just wouldn't work without him being there. And I think I'll get into more of Jerry later when we talk about him, but yeah. I'm trying to not retread on what I'm going to say later, but I think he does carry the plot in the A plot.
Yeah, we have definitely more Jerry later, and then we got feedback on our treatment of Jerry in the first podcast, so we'll get to all that later.
The treatment of Jerry.
Oh yeah, you'll see. We got the MVP is Jerry. I mean, come on, Andy gets 5 points here.
Yeah.
This is.
I'll just say that Jerry is, if we're using sports analogies, Jerry is the running back, but he needs the offensive lineman in Rick and Risotto. Whereas over in the B plot, Morty is the quarterback. He's the leader of that plot. So I'm just saying, and quarterbacks win MVPs, running backs don't. I'm sorry.
I'm not buying that. Sell on everything.
Boo you.
Sell on everything you said.
EA Sports, run down the field, painted with lines in tight pants. Do the thing. Throw the ball.
I guess that's sports.
Thanks for making my point sound more ridiculous, Britt.
Yeah.
This is a game show.
Alex, you get 1 point. Why did you think the Morty answer would work again after last week? That's no.
He started 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
Alex has started every title.
Come on.
Morty is awesome this season.
I agree more. This was a
much.
good Morty episode, but you have to understand that this is some weird shell game where I'm not looking for the right answer. I'm looking for whatever I'm looking for. Okay.
I don't care. I'm going with what's right.
Okay. Maintaining his honor, even to the losing panelist point. Okay. No, there's more time to come back. And Brit gets 3 points. I think it was a well-supported answer. Brit does not have the context to know that repeating answers does not work well, but still gets 3 points.
This is not a repeating answer for me. This is the first time I've ever answered anything.
Yes, but yeah, you repeated.
I want my 5 points.
You repeated Alex's answer. That's what I mean. Alex said Morty, then you said Morty. But also first time. So Alex has less excuses here. So let's move on to our next question. Looking for potentially quicker answers here. Lightning round. What is the funniest line of the episode? As always, a lot of contenders. Brit, what do you got for this one?
Move on. Do you like amusement parks? Wow, you move on fast. Like, your whole family was taken from you. You're dead. Do you like amusement parks? And Jerry is just like, what? Like, it was funny. Like, Jerry's very subversive in the way that he's funny. Like, you have to think about it. Or not think about it, but it takes you a second.
Are you calling Jerry smart? Is that what you're doing, Chris?
He's not smart. He's just different. Like, you have, like, your brain...
I feel like it's a very hot take. You're kind of calling Jerry smart here.
Intelligence is relevant. Or not relevant. Relative.
Yeah, okay. Interesting.
I mean, I don't know if the ability to quip is related to intelligence, but he does respond quickly to things.
Okay, yeah, that's true. I feel like everyone in the show probably responds quickly, but yeah.
Well, but quickly. Yes, that is true. Not well, but quickly.
Okay, yeah. Definitely fast-paced. Okay, good choice there, Britt. Andy, what's the line of the episode?
It's when Summer's in the garage and she says, "What do you have in common with Trisha Lang? A mutual love of French cinema? The belief that a carbon tax is the only viable solution to climate change? Or could it be her massive stripper titties?" I love that line so much. I've watched that scene like 2 or 3 times because just the delivery of Summer saying that line is the funniest thing ever. Because immediately after that, she also says "boob ya." It's just this like perfect like cross section of Summer's character in like 30 seconds, and I love it.
Okay, yeah. Definitely a good choice there. I noted that on the recap podcast. Alex, what's your line of the episode?
Rick and Jerry adventure! Rick and Jerry episode! Just the way his voice rises at the end, it's a nice callback to the pilot. And honestly, I think we need more fourth wall breaking. That was something that I enjoyed in the first 2 seasons, and I feel like we've gotten very little this season. So like just when I saw that in the teaser last week, that gave me a big smile on my face. And even this week with the full episode, it still stands out to me. Just like it puts you in the tone for the rest of the episode, and it's great.
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting choice. I didn't consider that one, but definitely the most quoted, I feel like, that we've done from the episode. I like that answer, Alex. Original, I'll give that 5 points. Andy, I think this is correct. As I said on the recap podcast, I love that line as well. I think that's like definitely a top 3 on the episode, but only 4 points because I said on the recap podcast that it was great. And, I want to discourage parroting my opinion, even though you won last week because you parroted my opinion. And then, but Britt gets 4 points as well. That was a good, interesting choice there too. So all good scores here. Yes? Yeah,
and just before we move on, there's one thing that stood out, but I couldn't figure out if it was line or gag. But in the middle of the speech that Rick gives to Jerry, just telling him why he's wrong, that he stole his family and all, yeah, Rick says, "She had options." And the monster just goes, "Oof." It's just like that little contribution in the middle. Like, it was like that got a big laugh out of me, but like it's one word, so I can't call it a line.
That could have succeeded if you chose that one. I don't know. That's a good point though, yeah.
Dylan would have given you
so it's like right between line and gag.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's the distinction is done. Yeah, 6 points. We'll see if someone ever gets 6 points. We'll see. Okay, Phil, let's do favorite gag here. I'm looking for more of a general concept than a specific line, more open-ended. Alex, what's your favorite gag of the episode?
It's probably an easy answer, but vagina guy. Just the fact that when he brings it up first, Risotto like ignores it, runs by it completely. So it makes it funnier that he like actually remembers to bring it up over and over and over again throughout the entire episode. Like even in serious moments where like Jerry's trying to be brave, it's like, get away from me, vagina guy. It just like it takes away any credibility Jerry has, and it's hilarious.
Jerry being the vagina guy. Okay, strong choice there. Britt, do you have a favorite gag of the episode?
My favorite gag of the episode was people like randomly dying and then coming back, and like the little kids running around the casino and like shooting each other with a gun, and then she pops up every time, and then she actually dies at the end. That was kind of sad. But then like when they're going through the Whirly Dirly and it's like the field breaks and you like hear people just like dying all over the place.
Britt, a fan of...
I don't know, people dying randomly and coming back. Yeah, not consequences.
A fan of dying, Britt is? I don't know about...
Yes,
yeah. Yeah, no, just the immortality field in general, I feel like is what you're trying to say. Definitely a good choice for the favorite gag. Yeah, I think when the sister gets shot, for real, I said this on the recap podcast, that was my funniest moment of the episode. I love that. Andy, favorite gag of the episode?
I think this takes a little explanation. I really like
that's never a good start. Let's start there. That's not. But,
yeah,
okay,
I know it isn't, Dylan.
But maybe it's a really good gag that requires context.
Okay, continue.
No. I have a little more explanation for why I think it's a gag more than just a moment. Okay. That's all. And I think that I'm talking about the moment with Gene, with them, and Morty like yells at him, and Gene walks off. I find that whole interaction so funny because it gives the impression that there's this gag going on off screen that Gene constantly comes over like. Is everything okay? Like, it gives the impression that Morty said this before to Gene. Like, Gene has had to be, like, pushed away from their family arguments before. And I like that impression in my head. I like that a lot. That Gene is constantly butting into their family.
I don't think it makes it any funnier that he's constantly coming in, or this is just a first time thing.
I think no. I buy Andy's explanation. I think it's very funny that this is like an established character, but we don't in their world, but we don't know about him.
He's like their Flanders.
Exactly.
But we've never seen him, so I think that's a good choice. I do think that's a gag with the concept of this character who we haven't seen before, but is just like getting shat on. Yeah, that's an unconventional choice. I like that. 5 points. 5 points to Brit. The immortality field is a great answer as well. And then, the Jerry Vagina also 5 points. These are all good answers. I think I also would have accepted the Dumb Rick gag. I think that was a good one as well. Definitely could have, definitely one of the I don't know, kind of more of like a general concept. But yeah.
Would you have accepted the tiny people in the machine gag again?
I personally didn't find that funny, but that was definitely a gag of the episode for sure. But other people have said they found that funny, so your mileage may vary on that. Okay, let's continue to favorite minor character from the episode. Any character. There's a bunch of random people. There are the Morphizer guys. That's a potential answer, and a bunch of others. Gene, that would be a potential answer. Britt, who's your favorite minor character?
My favorite minor character was the dude with 3 trunks, including 2 coming out of his eyeballs.
Triple trunk. Triple trunks, I think.
Trunk.
Triple trunks, yeah. Why'd you like him?
He's ridiculous. He's 3 trunks. He could drink 3 beers at once. That would be so handy.
Were you jealous of his 3 trunks?
Yeah. I was.
Okay, I like that. I wasn't expecting.
It was not a deep answer, but it is there.
Okay, no, I like the triple trunks. Okay, Andy, what's your favorite minor character?
I think mine was Risotto Groupon, purely on the fact that his name is completely absurd. Like, there weren't a ton of minor characters in this episode, but he had one of the larger parts, and he was just his name. How did they come up with this name? It's so stupid. Like, his name is just completely absurd, and I love it. And then he actually gets to like mind meld with Rick and Jerry, and then Rick just immediately kills him, like while he's in this moment of introspection. And it was I liked his role in the episode. It's pretty funny.
Okay, yeah, Risotto Groupon, definitely our most prominent minor character. Strong choice here. Alex, who's your favorite minor character?
I quite enjoyed the Morphizer call center people. Now, disclosure, I have worked in a call center before, so that's my life in a nutshell. But just like them taking their job very seriously and talking that through, and then it just ends with "we're free." And also, I think the stinger, like not the getting caught by the bird part, like that final ending is weak, but just them like talking about work and like making fun of Ethan using their work terminology, like that speaks to me as just like a guy who was stuck in the office work life for a little bit. So yeah, I enjoyed their role here. They were purely humorous, totally ridiculous, but they were in for just the right amount of time.
You should tell your Valentine's Day story.
Oh, yeah. Well, I worked with 1-800-Flowers.com during the Valentine's Day season a couple of years ago. Lots of people screaming.
That sounds awful. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, the day after isn't fun, especially when you have to talk about UPS failing to bring your ex-girlfriend flowers or something.
So you say you were more busy then than the Morphizer guys who were just sitting there, probably for like millennia. In that thing.
Yeah, no, like that's the ideal life of a call center employee, to talk someone through only to make your life easier. In this case, letting you free.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like Alex related to that. Okay, yeah, I personally didn't find them that funny, but I love connecting it to like a personal life experience. So 5 points for that on Alex. Britt, I love triple trunks as well. 5 points. That was a great choice. And then Andy, 3 points. I don't think the name is enough justification. I feel like your answer was too reliant upon Risotto Group on having a great name. Although it is a really great name. So, I'm going to give 3 points there.
And just like on Risotto Groupon, one thing I want to mention, like I think his character isn't that strong to me, but the voice work by Clancy Brown, I feel like he's always used for like people that on their own wouldn't be that interesting, but like his voice just adds gravitas to every character he voices. So I think he makes that character work and be more threatening than he would be, say, voiced by a random generic voice actor.
Yeah, I agree.
Just my 2 cents.
Clancy Brown is very good. Yeah, in that role, I agree. Okay, after our opening rounds, we have a very close race. Andy 22, Brit 22, Alex 21. Made up some ground on Andy in that last round. Okay, let's go to potentially longer form answers here on our out of bounds question. How did you think Jerry's character was handled this episode? And also, we seemingly revert to the same dynamic we had in the beginning of the season. So what do you think his future's like on the show? We finally got our Jerry episode. Are things changed now? And did you like how Jerry was used here? Let's start with Andy.
So I think this is a perfect example of how you can do a character episode in a different way than usual. Because when you have a character episode, you usually have progression. You usually have a change in the character. Like you have a ton of episodes of Avatar with Zuko, where you have these really interesting, deep dives into his character and what he would do in situations. And here we do a similar thing where we deep dive into Jerry's mindset and what he would do in certain situations. And we see that what's on the surface is what there is. He's not going to change. Jerry isn't going to change. And there is some interesting stuff there when you watch an episode about a character that is really staunch in their beliefs or staunch in like how they act and they don't change. And it can be done well. And I think that's one of the stronger parts of this episode, the way they handle Jerry, and they show that he wants to change and he thinks he knows the way to change, but he clearly is not changing. He's clearly just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And I think Rick's assessment of Jerry when he's inside that weird caterpillar thing is a little bit. It was a snake. I thought it's a weird alien thing.
It's an alien thing regardless, but yeah, more of a snake. Yeah, continue.
Yeah. I think that Rick's assessment of Jerry there was a little harsh, and I think there were some things that went a little further than I think were necessary, but I think there was a grain of truth there, and that he wallows in his own pity, and he wants people to pity him, so he seems to not thrive, but that seems to be his equilibrium. He likes that. He likes living in that. Or not likes it, but that's his norm, and he's used to it. And I think it's interesting seeing it from this perspective, and I really don't think that Jerry is going to change. I think we're going to have him be wallowing in this motel until someone else picks him up, and he's just going to be the same pitiful creature, but in maybe a job. Like someone will be like, hey, you're good at doing insert really crappy job here. And that's all I really expect from Jerry now. I don't think they're going to go into exploring how he changes, because they've already shown Morty, Beth, and some are changing, so they clearly don't want to bother with Jerry changing.
Okay. This is a long thought out answer. Alex, any reactions to that, and what's your take on this question?
Yeah, I for the most part agree. I think this episode very clearly wanted you to get the idea that Jerry only is willing to go along with things that are to his benefit, but only if it requires little effort from him. And he just as easily changes his mind when things go south. So when you live like that, you never you can never move forward, because obviously things are going to require effort from you. Right now he lives in a motel. He probably is receiving checks that aren't being eaten by wolves, I would hope. So he can use those savings in a better way than how he's doing it right now, I feel. And also that line from Risotto near the end, where Jerry's like, I'm trying to be brave, but you're not risking anything. And that's always been Jerry's thing. He only does things when there's no risk. Also, that little moment where he's making fun of dumb Rick, developmentally challenged. He has no way to defend himself. That's when Jerry feels strong, when he can, he has nothing to respond back to. So, to me, this leaves Jerry in the same place, because I think we've seen that in other episodes. Just here, it's more magnified. And I think that the show will just pass by on him floating around and picking up on his motel life. Maybe he, tries to fight the loser sounds and fails, just because he doesn't have really the self-motivation to go through with it. But then he'll luck his way into something good, maybe getting back into the family via ridiculous circumstances where Rick needs him to return to the family. But on his own, Jerry isn't going to do it. This episode, along with previous episodes, just doesn't give me any faith in him being able to improve at his current pace.
Apparently this is a motivational Jerry clinic going on here. We're all trying to get Jerry back on the right path. I don't think we're bringing back the loser wins, but I like the reference there. Okay, similar answer here. Britt, what's your take on Jerry overall in this episode?
I think it was the biggest view we had of his character and in its entirety. Like, we saw all the facets of his personality. And you sort of start to think and see what he did to his family, sort of just by being a coward who thinks very highly of himself. He's very self-important, but he also is not confident. And he is kind of lazy and doesn't really do anything to change. Like, he has an advertising degree, but he's really not trying very hard to get into advertising. Like, he just wants to be handed things and not work very hard, which is kind of what Rick does, but Rick is intelligent, so he's fine, whereas Jerry's stupid, so it doesn't work out. And it's an interesting dichotomy between the two men who want to be heads of the family and what they think best is for Beth, whereas they're not really letting Beth choose whether or not, like, choose outright without someone trying to sabotage the marriage or Jerry just trying to, like, pull the wool over her eyes that everything's fine, to make that decision whether or not the marriage should continue or she wants to work on it. And if you've looked back, Jerry has tried to, like, help their marriage before. He sent them to a clinic that has a 100% success rate, and it still didn't fix things. So, do you accept that things are broken and let them, like, go off in their own life, and maybe Jerry will make something of himself now that he's not using Beth as a crutch, or the other members of his family as a crutch for his own insecurities, or is he just going to live in a motel and wash his underwear in the sink and eat pot pies for dinner for the next, like, 50 years and then die?
Bro, that's
two people show up to his funeral. So it's really interesting because you're sort of at, like, a crossroads for his life. And as a character, is he going to change? Is he not? And honestly, I don't know. Like, with this show, it could go either way. They could either, like, pull that out and have him not change at all and just show that without work or what have you, effort, bravery, you have to risk something to get something. So is Jerry going to risk anything? Or is he just going to be a coward for the next 50 years, washing his underwear in the sink?
You're very generous with how long Jerry's going to live. Can I just say that? He's, like, already, like, 50
That's your takeaway from that? Okay, I feel like they're...
50? What are you talking about? Summer is, like, 17, and they got pregnant at 17, so 17 plus 17 is, like, what?
Yeah, I guess Jerry is only mid-30s. Yeah, it's true.
I guess
he's, like,
right.
mid-30s.
Yeah, maybe late 30s.
I guess years seems like a really long time in my head, I guess.
Yeah, I mean...
So I'm thinking, like, mid-70s, 80s.
Yeah.
He's not terribly unhealthy.
That's actually, sorry.
Anyways, this is not important, but
Yeah, no, that was a good, very good answer there, Britt. I think the dichotomy between Jerry and Rick is an interesting topic.
Because they're sort of equal opposites,
I actually really want to see Rick, if ever be in a situation like Jerry where he's below somebody, because that would be really interesting to see how Rick reacts to being, like, below somebody. That's a topic for another time.
Well, below how? Because, like, intellectually, he has the ability to really get past anyone who's ahead of him. That's the thing. Jerry doesn't have those qualities.
Yeah,
but that's the point. Like, I want them to somehow,
like, that's the sort. Like, Rick is, like, the source of Rick's power is his intelligence, right?
Yeah.
Like, as a character, he uses that.
But I guess you just want, like, a contrast, right, between how Jerry handles this and how Rick would handle it.
Yeah, I want somehow to see how they handle it in contrast, like you said. That'd be interesting, but I'm not sure how they would do it. Better writers than me will probably figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Somebody will figure it out.
Good discussion all around there. I think we all kind of seemingly, Britt left it more open-ended, but hinting that Jerry will not really change as a result of this, which I think is interesting. I think that's probably what the show is suggesting. Going to be interesting to see how his role will potentially adjust.
Jerry's not going to not change because he can't change. He's not going to change because he's not going to put on effort and doesn't want to. Anyway.
Yeah. I think this is like there's a lot of Jerry defenders coming out of the woodwork after our latest recap podcast, but I definitely think we can potentially all agree that Jerry's not
there are people who defend Jerry.
Oh, we'll get to them. Yeah, people.
Well,
potentially the problem is like the effort. I think we can all agree that Jerry's probably not going to be being a go-getter and trying to improve his life now.
And if we want to make a defense of Jerry, like, he is supposedly like the representation of the everyman in this like ridiculous world. So, and like a normal person, there are stretches in your life where you hit rock bottom. And at that point is where you have nothing to lose. So
Yeah,
Jerry
totally.
right now is in a situation where, like, in a normal situation, like maybe right now you are self-pitying like Jerry, but there is a way out, and Jerry is actually in the right position to do that, especially at that final moment where, like, he's sort of like, well, I'm going to stop self-pitying myself, and he has that quick relapse of, well, I need to get into the house. So it's obviously not going to be sudden, but I do think that if there is a way to progress, it would be in this situation, like in the real world. Just like you have nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, and you think, what is my life going to be in 10, 15 years? Am I going to stay like this forever? And someone who's already tasted what life is in a normal family setting is not going to be happy with that. So there is a case to be made for Jerry getting better if outside of the show, just speaking in logical terms. The show, however, has painted it in a way that it's not going to happen.
No.
But that goes back to Pickle Rick and all this stuff about the themes of, like, you have to put work in to get something back, and Jerry just won't put the work in. Like, that's
He
one of the
literally was gonna be killed by, like, Rick. He thought that Rick was gonna
Yeah.
throw him out into space
Exactly.
in the nude. There's the dick
And
hanging out. That was so funny. But, like, and he had no qualms. He was not gonna fight back at all. He thought he was shit and was resigned to dying, which is insane.
Yeah. Okay. Definitely a lot of good back and forth there. Yeah, I think that these are all great points about Jerry's character. I think I assume the show won't be super interested in the Jerry comeback arc. Like,
No.
we're gonna do something with him though, so I think that's gonna be interesting to see. But yeah, I don't think we're gonna have Jerry getting his life back together. It could be one episode. It could be like a B plot of one episode. Jerry just randomly gets his life back together and he lucks into something. Yeah. 5 points for everyone. Yeah, that was a great discussion.
5 points for everyone? Jeez.
Yeah. Oh man.
He's just throwing out points.
Brit's already
That
got
means
the
he-
cutthroat sense of like 5 points for me, but no, that means 5 points for other people. Yeah.
Well, see, that just means he stopped paying attention midway through our
Oh yeah, I
episodes.
definitely zoned out. Okay. Too much Jerry talk. I can't handle it. Okay. Let's go to the.
Dylan doesn't think highly of Jerry. What?
Yeah, let's go to the, start to close things out here, get back to some quicker answers. What is the weakest part of the episode? What didn't succeed, for you the most, or what did you not find that funny? Anything applicable here. Britt, what do you think?
Why is Beth making a sculpture out of fucking horse holes? That thing was hideous. And I know they're trying to show her, like, being frustrated and, like, growing crazy because she now has, like, no outlet for all her excess energy, but, like, horse holes? I mean, okay. Can she have something other than being a veterinarian, being married to Jerry, and Rick being her dad? Like, she needs something. Like, Summer has something. Summer has a lot of things, actually. Morty has something. Rick, even Jerry is, like, advertising, but has, like, something. But Beth is, like...
She reflects the other characters around her.
Yeah, she reflects the other characters around her, and now one of her reflections is missing, so they didn't, like, give her something new. They just gave her something that we've seen before. So...
Okay, yeah.
I think...
Yeah, that's really interesting. The horse, the hoof sculpture. I quite liked that gag, but at the same time, I think you turned that around into a really good criticism. Like, even though we've been getting more into Beth's character this season, she's still just two things. Just you're right, the horse surgeon and Rick's daughter. So,
yeah, a mom.
Yeah, I could definitely see.
She doesn't even do that many mom things. Like, I think if they want to go the mom route, that's fine. Like, but show her like becoming like a better mom.
Yeah, I guess we got some of that here, but it was also in giant reverse skin form, and we didn't really hear any of it. So,
No.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting choice there.
I still like that part though.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
Andy, weakest part of the episode.
I think the weakest part of the episode was the trippy scene. Not because I actually really like trippy scenes. I actually like enjoyed this scene as like by itself, but I think there just wasn't time in this episode for this trippy scene. We were already rushing through a lot of plot, and then we just had this like, I think it was like almost a minute long of just essentially nothing happening when we could have just had maybe spaced out the rest of the plot a little bit. And it just felt like this was the wrong episode for a weird druggy trip out scene. Honestly, that's really it. Like if we could have stuck this into like Vindicators. There wasn't like a ton of, we didn't have to rush through Vindicators, did we? Like, we could have stuck a trippy scene there, but this one we had so many ideas, so many concepts. Why did we throw this in here too? I just don't get it.
This or the BoJack season 1 trippy scene?
I think that actually had a purpose, but I know you don't like that episode.
I mean, I
I
like that episode. I don't like that. I don't like any.
I think that the trippy scene worked because it showed that, like, Jerry can be shown the entirety of time, right, in all of this expanse and still go
I'm not
nowhere.
saying that scene is bad. I think that scene actually is good. I just don't think it's right for this episode because it makes the rest of the episode a little worse by taking up time that could be used to actually fill out these plots that we have that are already squished.
I like Brit's point there that it's like Jerry has this all laid out in front of him, and he's still Jerry. So
yeah,
I think it's
Can we talk about the trippy scene that Rick and Jerry got it on while also being eaten as a lie? That was hilarious.
Is Rick X Jerry canon? Is that what you're saying, Brit?
I think so.
It's canon.
Okay. Alex, what's your least favorite part of the episode?
Also, there was a scene in which Rick was God. So.
Yeah, I feel like that's the entire show. So all summed up in one thing. Alex, what's your least favorite part of the episode?
Well, it was definitely the drug trip sequence, but just to be a little different. Another thing that bothered me was I feel like the gore in this episode was a bit over the top. Like compared to Pickle Rick, it was prominent to the plot where like it is a parody of an action movie and all. But here, like the Jerry getting like bloodied up by a hand dryer. Summer just turning into a muscle person. Like it all felt like incidental and not really like it. The
was an Attack on Titan gag.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's not funny. Like it would have been this equally funny to me if it was just her as a normal person. Like I feel like here it was just like blood for blood's sake, or like it didn't really add anything to me. And like. The joke where Lisa, the little girl, gets like killed by that. I think that's almost even funnier if you haven't seen all the gory stuff beforehand, because it ends up being more impactful. But they just went a bit over the top with it to me. This just wasn't the setting to use your TV MA rating.
I think that's unfair because I think Pickle Rick actually is less justifiable for the gore than this episode. Because honestly, do we really need him to be like killing rats for like 45 seconds in the most gory way possible? But this episode actually had like an entire gag around the idea of people dying. I think it was actually pretty justified in this episode.
Yeah, I agree.
And then, well, the thing is, I'm thinking about what Pickle Rick is aiming for, which is a parody of action movies being very violent. So like there, it serves its purpose. Here, I think the concept is more just like, perfect world where you can't get hurt. So like that can be transmitted without like this level of destruction. I feel.
How?
I feel like I just repeat myself if I said it again, but I
don't agree with that personally.
I think these are both valid. These are both valid points. I like the take that there was just too much like gore in this episode because I didn't really connect with the roller coaster action sequence. I think it was like well animated, but I don't know what it did in the episode. So I don't know why it's there. Like, I agree. I'd rather have it being serving some parody, but there was just an action sequence and, it wasn't particularly smart or funny. So it was just kind of like, okay, here's a minute of the episode. Alex gets 4 points for that. Andy gets 5 points for the correct answer of the drug sequence. And then, Britt gets 3 + 1 for her rebuttal of the drug sequence, which I enjoyed. So, still very tight here going into last two questions. Okay. Rather than rank, this at Whirly Dirly Conspiracy, there have been 5 episodes of the season. The Whirly Dirly Conspiracy is the blankth best episode of the season. So, like, is it the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth best episode of the season? Britt, what say you here?
Okay, I liked it more than Pickle Rick Romancing in the Stone. But did I like it more than the Rick Shank Redemption? I'm gonna say second or third best.
Okay. Second or third best. Alex, what do you think? Blankth best episode.
I'm gonna go fourth best. I have Rick Shank Redemption at like the top spot. I think Rick Mancing the Stone and Pickle Rick and this episode are all on like the next tier of like really good episodes. And then you have Vindicators, which, as last week I expressed, I just didn't work for me. But I think this is a very solid episode. But in the season, which overall has been pretty strong, I give it fourth.
Fourth, okay. Andy, you.
I think if you've been paying attention, I did list all my grades, and this one was at the bottom. So I think this is the fifth. It's just when I went through each episode, this was my least favorite. I don't know what else to say. The other ones, I think all these episodes are pretty close. Even this one, even if my grades are a little more apart, just to give some amount of like contrast between the grades, I guess. But I mean, most of these episodes are pretty close, except for Pickle Rick. But one of them has to be at the bottom. That's all. And this one's it.
Okay. I don't know if you've been paying attention to my grades 40 minutes ago is going to sit well with the listeners. So, no, we weren't paying attention to your grades, Andy. That's what I'll say on that. I definitely was not. So I did not remember. That's what
Still in paying attention. What?
No, I actually did remember the.
I think some of the listeners were.
If you were paying attention to my grades, come on, no one remembers. Okay, I was going to give you 5 points because I agreed with you, but you only get 4 points.
I listed all my grades in a row, Dylan. I was the very first.
Dylan, he made a list. That's your favorite
I do like
thing.
lists,
oh wait, shit.
But I did not. I don't know what the holy shit was for, but I did not. I'm not rewarding the. Remember that time I did something really great in the beginning of the podcast? Yeah, you should remember that.
I didn't even say it was great. I just said I did it. I'm saying if you remember.
If he doesn't remember it can't be that great. So 0 points for you.
Ooh, Brit, what do you? I'll give 4 points. I needed to fit. I hadn't done as much shitting on the panelists, so that was what that was. Okay.
You just want Brit to win. That's I want listeners to remember. Dylan just wants Brit.
Oh wow, Andy, you are in the lead, and I don't know. I'm taking a point off for that. You're complaining.
I want everyone to remember this. Everyone listening, remember what Dylan's
complaining before the results are, and you were after this round going to be multiple points in the lead heading into the last round. Not anymore though. Not anymore. Okay. Alex gets 4 points. Brit gets 3 points. Brit, you have to pick a side. You have to choose 2 or 3. But you.
Fine, it's 3.
Ooh, too late. I've never heard this
scene that I really like, so it gets below.
I haven't seen this tactic before. Trying to correct your answer right after. No one's tried that. That's bold. Okay. I don't know if I should reward that or not, but this.
You didn't grade her yet. That was part of the problem.
I said 3. Yeah, she talked over it. Okay, we'll stay at 3. But that was I like fixing the answer. Keep that in mind for next time. Okay. And Andy's 1 point in going the last question, but I'm still mad about the complaining about the systems. This might not hold up. Okay. What is give me a guess for next time on Rick and Morty in Rest and Rickslaxation. We saw the preview of them freaking out for their latest adventure. We're gonna we're almost died 10 times there or whatever. So, that's the beginning of the episode. What could possibly be next, Alex?
Well, they go to a spa that's in Sector 5. It's supposedly the most relaxing thing in the universe. But the water turns them green, and they're mistaken for Gleep-Glorpians and get chased by an angry mob of refugees who had their society destroyed by the Gleep-Glorpians. Rick drops his portal gun in the hot swamp tub, so obviously they have to run through different portals to keep away from the refugees. Meanwhile, in the B-plot, Summer and the principal have a talk about her falling grades.
Okay.
This is so detailed.
Yeah. Is that the accepted tactic now, is just making shit up as the answer to this last question? Is that
bingo?
That's the way to go, I guess so. Why the B-plot? Why?
Well, because I just feel like we need B-plots. Like, total in this season, I think
what is it based
only
on?
the Vindicators one had a B-plot.
What is that based on?
Oh, well, a couple of episodes ago, we had Summer in the Pickle Rick episode. They talked about how she was referred to the psychologist because she was huffing enamel. Yeah. So I just think that maybe the whole Summer acting out because of the divorce, that's going to keep going. Okay. And that might be the next step, maybe. And also the principal, all he's had is that one little poop scene in Pickle Rick. So I just feel like he's due for a return. Oh, no, that's a math teacher. The principal hasn't shown up.
Okay.
Principal, is he Principal Vagina?
Principal Vagina has not appeared this season.
Yeah, so he needs a reappearance. So I think this is a good moment to bring him back.
Okay, I appreciate the correction. This was going to be a Andy last episode with Gearhead, but you got Mr. Goldenfold as the math teacher. Okay, okay, very detailed answer. Andy, what's happening next episode?
I think what's going to happen is they're going to obviously come back after this adventure where they almost die, and they're going to come back to Earth, and we're going to get. I'm not sure if there's going to be an A-B plot type thing, because some of these episodes this season have not had A-B plots, but we're going to have a couple of plot threads going about. And one of them is going to be Morty's going to be trying to. I think we're going to have a little more of Morty in school with Jessica, and there's going to be something funny going on. And he's going to try as hard as possible to have a normal day of school, essentially, and everything's going to go wrong. And then we're going to have Beth Beth is going to be trying as hard as possible to get Rick to take her on an adventure. That's what I think is going to happen. Beth is just going to be like, I need to do something. I need to prove myself. I want to go on an adventure with you, Dad. And Rick's just going to be like, no, I don't want to go. Like, for the one time ever, Rick's just going to be like, I don't want to go anywhere. I want to just, like, not die one day. And I think this summer, the idea of Summer getting her grades, like, Summer's going to be doing something at school. She's going to run into Morty a couple times. And I think she's going to be a little more in the background this episode. I don't think she's going to be as much in the focus. And I think that's generally what's going to happen. There's going to be something weird that I know none of us are going to be able to predict that's going to happen at school. But other than that, I think that's the general structure of the episode.
I agree. We've had a lot of Summer recently. It'd be surprising if she owned the B plot again. Andy just like saying like, Alex, you're making shit up, like commenting on that, and then you just make up your own shit. So I don't know.
I never said it was bad. There's making shit up. I just thought it was funny. I didn't go into too much detail.
Okay. There's still a lot of detail. Okay.
It was
interesting. These are good takes. Brit, any predictions for rest and Rick's laxation?
Okay, let's make something off the top of my head because I was asked to be on this podcast about 20 minutes before we started.
Yeah, that's accurate.
I think next week's episode, the whole family is going to go to a spa on Bird Person's planet because they're done with their honeymoon, and Tanya, that person is having a baby, and Rick just wants to relax, but like, he can't, right? That's gonna be the point. He wants to like go on a spa and like take a nap because he's old and it's not gonna work. Or on the flip side, he wants to work, but everyone wants him to calm down and have like, they want to have like a normal day, but he wants to like go on adventures. And he's like, they're like, we're kind of falling behind in school. We're kind of doing this, and this. And like, without Jerry like messing everything up, like now they can have like a normal functioning life and like family structure. And then like he gets bored and then messes something up, and then they go on an adventure and they go to space and they almost die a bunch of times, and then they go home and eat dinner, and that's it.
I like bringing in Tammy. I think we need to do that.
Yeah, an important question: if Tammy is pregnant, is she pregnant with Bird Person or with Phoenix Person? And if she's pregnant with Phoenix Person, is he able to have sex?
I think the better question is, why is Rick going to their honeymoon? Tammy killed Bird Person. Why would he want to go?
Oh, that's the part you're deconstructing of that rambling? Really? Like,
yeah. Everyone else is absurd enough to get the show, but I don't.
She's gonna be the villain.
Oh my god.
I don't know. Okay, that was literally like 5 seconds.
Okay, that was good off the top of your head. I appreciate that.
I just want Bird Person to come back. That's who's gonna get resurrected next. Phoenix Person.
Yeah, no, I agree. I need to see Tammy and Bird Person. Like, come on. Okay, I'm giving Alex 5 points for the random detailed answer, and then a bonus point for the commentary on Brit's answer, which I appreciated. Andy gets 3 points because I'm intentionally tanking his score at this point, and then Brit gets 4 points. That was not coherent, but impressive off the top of your head. Okay, let's total up the results here. Even though I intentionally manipulated the results, so I know what happens. We have Brit and Andy tied for second place with 38 points, and Alex wins with 40 points.
Woo!
Alex is our champion. Brit, that is an impressive, not last place finish, considering you were asked to be on this 20 minutes before. So congratulations, Andy. You ruined it. You had it. It was in your sights, and then you antagonized the host. What a mistake! And then
I like how he made Alex win just so he couldn't be accused of letting me win.
Yeah, we all agreed.
Partly also, to be fair, Alex's answer was really good at the end. So we're giving this to.
I mean, he was.
Yeah, we're giving Alex. I was also like much more prepared. So Brit, I think, is going to be a good contender for future ones. But here, Alex, what do your 30-second FaceTime? What do you want to talk about here?
Okay, so in the middle of this episode, like when Morty walks into Beth making the sculpture, he's carrying a magazine about New England for some reason. And I just figured, like, Rick and Morty going to Cape Cod, that would be a nice vacation place, right? And like, you could have Rick making fun of the hipsters there with the sweaters around their necks, but also like gobbling up the little lobster cocktails they might have at the fancy parties. Morty finds a hot Nantucket chick to hang out with. It would just be a very nice time, and then Jerry would come and mess everything up by trying to network and like get jobs from the rich people, and thus get Rick and Morty kicked off the island, and they continue to hate him for life. New England is a great place. Please come over.
Do you live there?
The question's over. You know that, right, Alex? We ended that question.
Yeah, I zoned out. What was any of that? I don't understand.
There was just a really random gag where like Morty walks in with a magazine about New England.
okay.
Like, why was he reading about New England?
Okay. Oh, so you connected it with that as an Englander. I see. Okay.
I assumed that was like a cover up for one of his like dirty mags. Even though he has the internet, but you never know.
That'd be good, yeah.
Yeah, like Rhode Island Girls Monthly or something.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. What? Okay, we're off the rails. Okay, let's just this is over. Alex wins. Thank you, panelists. This was another good showing. I have a iTunes review of the week here, specifically for our panel discussion too. We very much would appreciate iTunes reviews. You can go to overlyanimated.com/iTunes or search for Rick and Morty, Overly Animated. And you can give us reviews just to our Rick and Morty iTunes feed or our main feed, both appreciated. This is from Slime60, who says, best R&M podcast out there. He says, I actually rank this over Interdimensional RSS. The host, side note, this is me talking. Interdimensional RSS guys are great. All Rick and Morty podcasts are great. Okay, continuing Slime's review. The hosts are uber relatable and the host's pettiness is just fucking hilarious. I keep the panelists, keep the panels. It's what made me start following the channel. I had to visit the Overly Animated website just to see what my heroes look like. LOJK, but seriously, I work overnight and wouldn't be able to start my shift off Mondays and Fridays without your podcast. I hope you get exposure you guys deserve. Signed, probably your biggest fan, LOL Slime. PS, excuse the spelling and writing to the bathroom work. Okay. Thank you, Slime, for your very interesting review there.
Yeah, and bonus points for ranking podcasts. Ranking is what we do here.
No, don't rank us. We all love
We
like the Interdimensional RSS, guys. Also, there's other great Rick and Morty podcasts as well. So yeah, we can all coexist. And, also I'm in favor of saying we're the best. That's also a good tactic. Yeah, so thank you for.
Wow, Dylan, that was a really wishy-washy. That was a real Jerry answer.
Look,
well, they're all great, but we're the best. I like that you said that. But
I'm always a fan of saying we're the best podcast. But we're also it's very political answer. Yeah, Slime60, thank you. Leave us iTunes reviews. We'll read it either at our recap or our panel discussion. The reason we need reviews like Slime's on our Rick and Morty specific feed is because people click into it. They're like, what's this? Oh, it doesn't have any reviews. Maybe I won't listen. But if there's more reviews, maybe they'll listen. So thank you very much. We had two emails this week defending Jerry in light of our recap podcast, where Michelle and Delaney just shat on Jerry for an hour. It was a lot. So
it's beautiful.
It was
people
incredible.
really came to Jerry's defense here. We have someone nicknamed Ricky Gervais, who I assume is not the real Ricky Gervais, who he emailed us a long.
That'd be so funny if it was.
I don't think he would email us, but it's possible. I mean, he emailed a long defense of Jerry, with pointing out how he did nothing wrong in various episodes, and he says, "Stop shitting on Jerry." And it was pretty
He's like a nice guy.
It was pretty convincing. There was like Jerry in this episode. Jerry did nothing wrong, and I think the evidence. Okay, I'll continue with the.
He did nothing good.
Yeah,
just because you do nothing wrong doesn't mean you do anything right.
I'll read the second email, then I'll respond. We also had Ranma, who's written in before, who says also defended Jerry. His general point is, why is Jerry singled out for being average? And asks why we hold Jerry accountable for his actions, but not the other characters. And I think these were both like logical, coherent points.
We should hold the other characters accountable for their actions as well.
I think we do.
But that doesn't make Jerry not.
That's
terrible.
A good response too. Yeah, I think the biggest point is that Jerry is supposed to be a character we're shitting on. This is not just us, and it's not like Delaney and Michelle are going out on a limb here. It's that this is Jerry's purpose in the show. They're like going along with the gag. So this would be my response.
He'd be like the person you shit on in high school because you wanted to go to everything, but he was super boring when you took him, never paid for anything, and drank everyone else's beer at parties.
That's a specific answer, Britt. Is this referring to specific?
But I mean, it does sound like
Jerry.
It
does sound like Jerry. It's like the
Jerry is like an archetype. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he is. He's the character you shit on archetype. Yeah. Yes, Alex.
No, and definitely, I think there's a defense to be made that like Jerry is always being compared to all these other characters that just have their own crazy personalities. And Jerry, like in a normal setting, maybe would just be an average dude. But because he's always alongside Rick or Morty, who is already mature, because of that, he looks terrible in comparison.
Yeah. Which is the shtick. Like, we're going along with the shtick, guys. That's the joke. Okay. But also, I hate Jerry, but, it's cause that's what
leave Jerry alone.
That's what the show does. Yeah. So there you go. Send your Jerry defenses to us at podcast@overlyanimated.com. We could read we'll have if we get like a 10 Jerry responses, and we'll have a defensive Jerry mailbag. But until then, this is the extent. We'll see what more Jerry's coming, and we'll see you guys next week for Rest and Rick's Laxation. Gonna be an interesting episode, and we'll see if the detailed theories from these three come true. We had a nice Rick burp there, but yeah, come true with this episode. So definitely subscribe to us. Keep with our Rick and Morty podcast. Overlyanimated.com, so you can find all of our podcast content. We're about to start BoJack Horseman podcast, by the way, which might be applicable to this audience because it's another adult animated show. And we also cover a bunch of other stuff. And even if you're not into much other animation, generally we cover good stuff. So you can find that at overlyanimated.com. Maybe get some show recommendations. Consider supporting us on Patreon. That's like the best way to support us. iTunes, 1 Patreon, 2 iTunes reviews. Best way to support us.
Give us your money.
Yeah, basically that's what Patreon is. Yes. Summary. And patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thank you very much to all of our patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Kent, aka Kent Brockman. Thank you, Kent, for your support as always, and thanks as always to our patron executive producers, John Ryan, Steve, Alex, and Andy. We'll be back next week with our dual Rick and Morty podcast. Just a note, it might be up slightly later than normal on Monday night. It'll be up for your commute on Tuesday, but I wish they would air the show earlier so we could have it right after the episode, but they don't. So, final thoughts, anyone?
Whirly Dirly. That's all.
You're increasingly petty, Dylan, and people are noticing it.
I was not petty until the whole podcast, until that last second.
I'm gonna pickle Rick. That's my last comment. Is that this is pettiness should be smiled upon. This is Rick and Morty.
Yeah, Andy, I don't know if complaining about the pettiness is gonna help you in the future. But
oh no, I'm not complaining about the pettiness. I just want to point out that someone in a review said that you were increasingly petty. And immediately petty.
He called all of us petty.
Yeah.
I mean, he also enjoyed the pettiness.
The review completely enabled me, by the way, in that regard. But
it did. I can tell.
Brit, you might have gotten points for the belches if they were during the discussion, because that's very in theme with the show.
I should have, but I wasn't like gassy.
So that's.
I was use that as my final thought, but then somebody kept talking.
Rick audio tributes might get points for in future panels. Okay, thank you guys. Let us know what you thought of this, listeners. Thank you guys very much for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Adios.
Bye. I'll miss you.